smartest guys around are about to break it down like they've won the game a million times.
Well, actually, they didn't really win the game at all.
Survivor know it all. Survivor know it all. Stephen without it down. Got the game all figured out. They know it all.
Yeah, that's right. The final Survivor Know-It-Alls of the season.
Whoa! We did it, Rob.
Together, Stephen, for the holidays. To
And I
celebrate.
have had. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we're celebrating our brand new Survivor winner, D.
Woo! D won the game, and I had unerring predictions this whole season. I said Jake was not going to win, and I was right. Jake did not win. That was one prediction that I got right.
Yeah. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Well,
very
excited.
fun finale.
Really fun finale. For honestly, like I feel like that it was D who I think that most people, maybe not you, most people had going into the finale.
Oh no, I had her too.
Yeah.
I was just like open. I felt like any of those five, I could like see a case, but D for sure I thought was the favorite. And also, like, you fooled me with Jesse, so I wanted to remain a little, not you, Rob Cesternino, but you, Survivor. You're sort of the face of Survivor.
Pretty much. That's what people say. Yeah. And so that while D was the favorite going in, and you would have thought, like, okay, at the end of the night, okay, D wins. Okay, maybe that might just be like kind of like a ho-hum affair. A very exciting 2.5 hours of Survivor.
Yeah, that was it was great. It was super fun. I mean, Jake stole the show, right? Jake brought so much to it. All of like the pathos of Jake, which I feel like was a subcurrent or of this whole season. It was always there, bubbling up. Became just a river of finale fun.
A river of finale fun. That's
a very Drew. I don't know if Drew could match that one.
Yeah. All right. So we'll talk about all that and put a bow on this whole season. Take your questions. I got a lot of questions.
Shambo.
Yes.
Whole season.
Perfect. As here we are. Yeah. Somewhat 26
Basketball.
seasons later. Bring it all comes back to Shambo, and we will take your questions, post them in the chat. We'll grab them and talk about it all. I have had the pleasure of speaking with the final five this morning here. I did all of the exit press. A bunch of those have already dropped. My interview with D, the way that it was, I talked to Austin, Jake, Katurah, Julie, all like bang, bang, bang in a row. And then there was a little bit of a break. And then I spoke to D. We should have that D interview up by the time we get off of this podcast.
Oh, nice.
Okay. So there you go. And we'll talk about all that. So I may be able to bring in some added insight from the exit press.
That's exciting. Some insight for once.
Yeah, we'll see once.
Yeah.
Okay. Steve, so Jake's pathos, certainly. What was your other big takeaways from this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a real capstone to D's game, which was phenomenal. A lot of people, there were some chaotic moments too, right? That final five, I'm sure you guys talked about it last night, the final five vote.
Yeah.
I do think there was one big
time
step
here with Jesse. We watched the finale and then came up here and did a podcast live. First in-person guest here to recap an episode, in years.
Wow. Well, that's fun. So that sounds like it probably was fun. But now it's about me. But now it's about me and my opinions. Yeah. Yeah. So I was super confused. I mean, like, I do think there was like one crucial step missing in that final five vote, in terms of what was included in the episode. And obviously, I'm sure you guys talked through it, but let's talk through it again.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit chaotic. I saw some sort of Twitter backlash of like, oh, did nobody really played well this season? I thought he played great. He played a great game, and arguably the most dominant game of New Era Survivor, right? I mean, who are you even setting her against? Jesse played a dominant game, but he also had but didn't win. Jam obviously played a fantastic game, but not necessarily a dominant game. So
that's an interesting word. We've parsed this like so many different ways. For me, I feel like that D is such a complete player in
Yeah.
that, the three facets. To say she had was the dominant. I have to really think about it in terms of like the thing about the new era. It's been that it ping pongs
Right.
so much all over the place. It has been hard for any one person to be that dominant, and so that for her to like come out of like this was like it wasn't quite a pagonging, but this was really the first time we saw like an alliance come in and just really dominate the second half of the game.
Yeah. And I thought that was so cool what she said, both in Tribal and I've read some of her exits. So I also may have some added insight, which was that, I was playing like, when Emily kind of pushed her, like separate your heart from your head. She said, I can't do that. Like they are the same thing.
Yeah.
This is, you create these emotional bonds and those become your strategic game. And I think that is 100% true. I've been saying that for years, but so probably stole it from me. No, but like more saliently, it was so interesting that, I read an interview that Mike Bloom did, and, and she said, I think maybe he asked, would you have eventually turned on Julie? And she said, no. No, I would not have ever turned on Julie because that was my number one. I'm not going to turn on Austin because that's my number one. I was 100% in with these people. And, on the surface, you think, wow, you got really lucky that other people were willing to vote out Julie. But obviously that also that comes into why she was successful at building this enduring alliance. Like she was giving 100% of herself, and the people on the other end of that could sense that, and they gave 100% of themselves. I mean, Julie, for her part, had the opportunity, right? Like at that final five vote, if Julie in her conversation with Katurah says, great, let's go for D, I think that it would have been D, and obviously that's a total cluster F, but I think it still would have been D if Julie had kind of co-signed that, and then Katurah had the sense that the vote was that the other vote, other than herself, she imagined she was getting votes, was D.
So yeah, D made such genuine bonds with people that her closest people like couldn't even fathom the idea of turning on her. But I do think that in talking this through with D earlier today, I had asked her about the final five because I kind of, you know me, I suppose I like do a little bit of like the galaxy brain of like,
Right.
I bet D really wanted Julie to go out in the final five. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if she was like, okay, I can't write Julie's name down, but like, okay, this all went just as D would have wanted it to go because she's able to get out Julie. She doesn't have to write her name down. Julie's out of the game, and that's a major obstacle to D winning the game. And I asked D about this, and unless she's like, no, I don't think she would lie about this at this point in time. She's like, no, I wanted my final three to be Austin and Julie.
Right.
And I said to her that, well, that even though like that might have been a harder game for you to win,
right?
Because I feel like that, Austin got 3 votes. This would have been, could she have still won? Certainly very much in the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
But a Julie D Austin final 3, there's a lot of variance there.
Yeah. Well, and again, like, I think that's what is, we talk a lot about, how that is sort of missing from contemporary Survivor, how, you don't have these enduring alliances. You don't have these enduring relationships. At the same time, you also don't have these people making terrible choices to take people who could beat them into the end. And maybe the two things are more linked than we thought, like maybe that sense of, in order to truly build an enduring relationship, you have to kind of put aside some of that mercenary sensibility, because if it's there inside you, the people on the other side of it can read that. I mean, I've been in that situation where I'm like, I'm so into this alliance that I'm like potentially going to sacrifice my own game for it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like I had a too late moment of like, oh my gosh, that's so stupid. Like, don't do that. And whatever, it didn't work out for me. But, I do think you kind of need to be that deep in order for the alliance itself to hold. You have to like be willing to lose it all and then kind of hope things work out. And maybe that's like one of the biggest risks of Survivor, is just that like complete, giving yourself over and being like, well, one of us is going to win and I hope it's me, but like, I've got to be all in on this.
Yeah. And D had that great answer that you referenced about that she isn't going to separate her brain and her heart. And I think that, for the person that it ends up working out for, like they look like the genius. And for the people that it doesn't work out for, it looks like, oh, why didn't you make that move?
Yeah, totally. I mean, what a great, and I just love how completely unapologetic she was. Like, yeah, I was 100% in, because most people, they have that thing in the back where they say, no, yeah, of course I would have cut her, obviously, like you got to.
Dee was just like such a beneficiary at that final 5, where that Katurah is going to the tribal council.
Well, right.
She's going to write Dee's name down. Instead, she writes Julie's name down.
Crazy.
And she changes it at the last second. It's really the difference between, Dee loses the game there. Yeah. And even if that she ends up doing something different, like she's able to, by that way, get rid of Julie, who is the biggest threat to beat Dee at the end, who Dee wants to take to the end. Yeah. Now, I think that Austin also said if Julie is still in the game, that Julie is going to likely be in the fire making, that if Austin wins that Final 4 challenge, that he's probably going to win and try to take Julie into the fire making. And so maybe that's a different way that Dee is able to get Julie out of the game. So there's probably not a scenario where Dee, Austin, and Julie all end up sitting in the final 3. But it's just that one decision that really wasn't Dee's, fingerprints aren't on it, that ultimately saves Dee from losing the game.
Yeah, and you can certainly say Dee got lucky. She got really lucky in this one concrete place.
Every Survivor winner got lucky.
Exactly. There's nobody who wins Survivor without some crazy thing breaking their way, from who they're cast with. If you're on the tribe that is winning more of the challenges, or you're on the tribe that loses.
Dee could have been on Lulu.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much luck, being cast with a group where there's someone who you connect with. There's so much luck that goes into that, let alone, the random swaps, some challenge coming up just when you needed it. So many things. And, you have to be able to ride that luck. And yeah, everybody basically has to have an extremely lucky break at one point, or more. And I don't like it. I don't think that takes away anything from Dee's win, especially because, especially when it comes to the votes, especially when there weren't so should we talk through that final 5? Because
would love to.
Okay. 2-1-1-1. Is that the first time that's ever happened at the final top 5?
I can't ever imagine a time where all 4 people who were eligible to get votes at the final 5 got votes at the final 5.
And it looks like a total mess of uncoordination, right? Like nobody is talking to anybody. So it seems. I do think that there was probably one crucial step missing that they did not show us, which was my guess, and tell me if this makes sense to you, Rob, is that the sort of everyone was basically in on the Julie vote, right? And at some point, right? So I don't know, let me talk this through. So Austin I'm voting Julie, and I think that's the vote. And Dee's like, you got to do this move, but I'm out of it. I think Austin must have thought that everybody was voting Julie, and so then Jake and Katurah also think that they are voting Julie, right? Except Julie thinks she's voting Jake, and so Jake and Katurah, their plan to vote for Dee is in reaction to what they have previously agreed on with this Julie vote. They're like, forget the Julie thing, because that was their whole conversation, right? It was like, do we vote out Julie or do we vote out Dee? They're like, let's forget this Julie thing. Let's take out Dee. So Katurah gets Jake to swear on Nana that he is voting Dee. So he does vote Dee. So what we have is Dee does her throwaway vote on Katurah, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Austin votes Julie as was planned, and what he imagines is still the plan that's going through. Jake votes Dee as was, as he swore to Nana, and then it comes down to Katurah, who, because she thinks she gets tribal council paranoia, and then so she, instead of making the big move, which is Dee, reverts to the Julie plan, which she thinks everybody else is doing.
Okay, that was so much there, but I think it's ultimately ends up being fan fiction.
Well, I
And
think this deserves. I'm going to find out. I'm going to get to the. Well, no, I'm not. But
well,
like someone else can find
I
out.
could tell you because I've
Yeah.
already
Oh.
I've talked to them.
Oh
To
no!
say that-
You're just letting me unspool my
well,
crazy
what should I
theory. And you're
stop?
done.
Should I stop you and
You
say,
were like,
okay,
yeah, stop! Don't let them sue you for
Yeah.
embarrassing yourself.
okay, so
further.
so hopefully I have this
Yeah.
straight, and I think that I could settle this from talking to them.
Yeah.
So for D, that the vote was always Katurah.
Right.
D was worried about Katurah. It wasn't a throwaway vote for her.
Right.
So they thought Jake was they knew about Jake's idol, and so everybody's was for D, I'm gonna put my vote onto Katurah.
Got it.
Julie, as we saw in the episode, she's like, I don't believe Jake that he could have a fake idol. I gotta call his bluff. So I'm putting my vote on Jake.
Can I ask a question right there?
Yes.
So why would those two not coordinate? That's the thing that's like the most confusing to me, because if Julie believes that it's a bluff, her single vote is not going to do anything. She needs to have somebody else.
That's why I thought that D might have kind of wanted Julie to go home. She said no, that was not the case. So Austin was on board with voting Katurah
right
up until right before Tribal Council. He said moments before Tribal Council, he decided to change his vote and ultimately go after Julie. And he even tells D in the episode, hey, I'm thinking I'm going to go with Julie, and I just want to tell you about it. She's like, okay, I'm not doing that. And so he changes his vote to vote for Julie.
But he must do so thinking that there are other people voting for Julie. Otherwise, it's a nonsensical move.
So when he went to go to the reward with Jake,
right,
Jake was also talking about like, I'm gonna vote for Julie. So I don't know if Austin like then went back and doubled back to Jake and Katurah and said, hey, come on, let's do the Julie plan. I thought that he was pushing it more. I don't think that he necessarily was. And then Katurah was getting panicky because she could sense, and I want to talk about her reads also, that she could sense that Jake was being shady about something. And so in sort of like a moment of panic, she's like, okay, well, I know that Julie is getting votes tonight. I'm just going to throw a vote on to Julie, because if I get a vote and she gets a vote, and maybe this is the one vote that ends up saving me.
So I wasn't totally off then. I mean, I still think that there's like a missing step there where Austin, Jake, and, maybe Katurah's in that conversation. Maybe she's just referred to, say like, hey, let's do Julie, right? Like, so I think there is some default plan that Austin is a part of, that Jake is reacting to, and that Katurah is reacting to, right? That Katurah had a sense that, that there is a Julie plan. And if I jump on the Julie plan, I am definitely like, I just think like Katurah got so much blowback, at least that I saw, from, what's ultimately was a game losing decision, right? Although who knows if she could have won anyway, but like it certainly was a catastrophic decision for, whoever.
It was a game losing decision for somebody.
For someone, right? Exactly.
But it might not have been her.
But I mean, like, I just think that like her, like she wasn't like randomly switching to Julie. I think that there was some plan in place that she was kind of like jumping back to.
Well, I think a lot of people thought that Julie was going home at the final 5 Tribal Council. I think that's what was, because there was so much talk about that. Okay, Jake is going to play his idol, that the vote was going to be Julie. And that's why Katurah, she didn't just pick Julie's name out of the sky. That, Dee was saying, she told me she was crying going into that Tribal Council because she felt like that Julie was going home at that Tribal Council. So that's why it ultimately ends up being the name that Katurah switches to.
Right. And hey, you called it, Rob. Last week you said, I think that Julie's got all the markings of a Final 5.
You know what? I don't want to pat myself on the back too much.
No, Pat, you deserve it.
I felt like I had a lot of things right about this finale. I had that D is going to win the Final 4 immunity. Yeah. She's going to take Austin as a way of sort of like
neutering
really
him.
Just, like saying, like taking away his power in that moment. So I had, I thought it was going to be Katurah and Jake making the fire against each other. And so,
you nailed it. You freaking nailed it, buddy.
I've often right about these things, but I felt like that this season, maybe it was the 90-minute episodes. Like I did feel like I had a lot of things going my way in the finale.
Yeah. No, you aced it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay,
go ahead.
you had a tweet this week talking about how you were feeling like that there was a possibility that Katurah was going to.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I was not out on her. I just was hopeful.
Yeah,
I knew
a
that it was like a
possibility.
sort
I'm
of
not
like
saying that you said like,
Yeah.
okay, mark my words, Katurah's going to win. But you felt like that you thought that there was a possibility of her being the winner.
I don't know. Well, look, I mean, like I said in that tweet, I said I think D probably wins, but I'm not totally out of control. I was just hopeful.
Gotcha. I'm not trying to like. I just want to talk
First, you
about
let me
that.
unspool my theory without interrupting me. Now there's like I'm getting all the past, no. So it was truly it was I one thing I've loved about this season is that I really felt that and some of that is the built up unpredictability of the last 4 seasons, but I did think that this is not over yet. I could see a way where a number of people could win this game, and that was a lot of the fun, and I was not and so I was kind of like keeping myself open, and Katurah was my rooting favorite going into the finale. Not that I thought she would win, but I just did tweet that I was not out on her.
I had a really interesting interview with her today, and coming into this episode, like I really was starting to see like she's kind of like the Oracle in that she is the person who is able to she is the person who's like kind of like watching the show with us. And is the person that can see that, okay, oh my God, she's frustrated with Bruce, like a lot of people who are watching the show. She's saying like, okay, D and Austin, does anybody else see this? Is am I the only one that thinks that okay, she knows like how these things are going to go. And I was really feeling like, especially when she opens up the episode saying like, hey, we need to take out D. Can't you see? She's obviously the favorite to win. Like, yes, she's making so much sense. And it's a shame that she has that one moment where that she ends up changing up her vote. But in talking with her today, she has like such a unique background to come into this game, and where she was sort of like at the bottom from jump in this game, which I think makes her like such an interesting observer of everything that's going on. And she had like such interesting reads, I felt like, from being at the bottom of Bello and then being at the bottom of like being like the outsider looking at Reba. I think that she was able to really be able to like observe everybody from a distance where she wasn't necessarily ever like in the numbers, but she was always watching from the outside. And I think there's a lot of like parallels to her work and her lived experience of having to be like a survivalist mentality of like, hey, I need to always be aware of everything that's going on for my own safety. And for her to bring that to the game, I think that really did inform a lot of the reads that she did have in the game.
Yeah, I mean, she was, very like a very fun narrator. When she was narrating, great observations. I do think sometimes. I mean, and I loved her. Like as I was rooting for her. Like, sometimes very frustrating to watch though too, because every single plan to sort of preserve Bello and unseat this Reba group, she was one of the major reasons that plan failed. And that certainly with D, obviously last night. I mean, that was when Bruce's questionable decision to like lie about the idol, which actually looked like it might have had some traction through Drew if she hadn't immediately told everyone it was false. Obviously the plan to save Caleb, and it's tough because, from her perspective, why am I going to preserve this group that I'm at the bottom of, that you are telling me I'm at the bottom of? Like, why am I going to put my neck out there when I know that there's nothing positive? And I do think we've talked about how this is sort of in many ways like an old school season of Survivor. And I think that is a very old school dynamic too, where there's someone at the bottom of one tribe who ends up jumping over to the other group, and they end up totally costing their original tribe the game. And you're like, why did you do that?
Aaron?
The Aaron Lobdell. I mean, Cochran in South Pacific, played that role.
Aaron and Coach with her and Bruce is like an interesting.
That's actually a very good
this jackass.
Yeah. Where like they're like, I'm not like, I don't like these people. I want them out. They've been like, they have not welcomed me. But at the same time, by your actions, you're essentially condemning yourself to leave, right before the end game. And people on both sides are going to be frustrated with you. So it's interesting. Like, what could she do? Right. Let's say Katurah takes a big swing to save the Bello group, and the Bello group, like, still she's at the bottom of that group. So it is. Yeah. And it's an unwinnable situation to be in. And again, like that's a lot of luck, right? She was cast in a group where she was just like kind of fell to the side. And like, what do you do? Like truly, like what do you do from that position?
Well, I think the thing that's like so interesting and like one of the things that would be fun to track on a rewatch, we're so fixated on, oh, Katurah and Bruce, but Katurah and Jake was the relationship of the season. They were together every single day of the game. They started on Bello. They got swapped to Bello. They were in the same group when they did the tribe split of the 6 and 6. And there were a number of times when Jake comes to her with a plan. And it's like, all right, Katurah, it's all on you. This is the plan. And she's like, this plan stinks. Like, why would I do this? This is a horrible plan. And so many times they needed each other. And it's just so interesting that in the final moments of the game, at the final 5, Reba has had all of the power throughout this entire post-merge. It's all been whatever Reba decides to do, that's what's going to ultimately happen. And there's this one moment when Katurah and Jake, if they, in this like prisoner's dilemma, if they just work together on this one vote, they're able to totally flip things around and get the advantage. And the fact that they can't, it's just like from a television standpoint, like this was like such a, like I want to use the word beautiful, but it's just like this microcosm of their relationship, how they were never able to get on the same page.
Yeah. And they had such different temperaments. I mean, you know, Jake, like you're saying, Jake comes to Katurah with a plan. It's always a slightly kooky plan. You know, it's never like a straight up and down plan. It's always like, we're going to force a tie and then we're going to get him to flip at the tie. And if not, one of us is going home from rocks. And then again, the same plan. And then it's like, I'm going to play an idol on you, but I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to play the idol on you, which to be fair to Jake, I also would not have told, because you can absolutely see Jake telling Katurah and then Jake getting voted out.
Both of them. You can see why both of them, why, like you could see why Katurah didn't go with this, and you could see why Jake didn't tell. And they were just like, but they had 24 days to build the trust with each other to make this work. And Stephen, all I'm asking for is a brand new CBS procedural drama where Jake and Katurah are working together in a law firm.
Honestly, that would be great. I would watch that. I mean, truly, like two such great characters, that would be really great. That's a great drama.
Everything about them is completely opposite.
Yeah, so opposite. Everyone said, and Katurah said, you know, you are totally, I don't trust Jake. I don't trust Jake. And that was like, I felt like that was not the first time that I'd heard that this season. What about it? What about Jake do we think was untrustworthy?
So I think that Jake was like looking for just big swings. And I think that he was desperate throughout most of the game. And desperation is a stinky cologne. And I think that, you know, that people like sense that Jake was just hungry for like, I'm going to like have this big move that's going to turn my whole game around.
Right.
And that was not how Katurah wanted to play. And Katurah, to me, I know D got a lot of the comparisons to Sandra. To me, Katurah was Sandra.
Yeah.
She was the anybody but me. Let me get 3 more days. Let me get through this tribal council. And Jake was just like up there, like trying to swing for all of these home runs. And that's not the Sandra game.
Right.
And they were just so incompatible, these two.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Let's talk a little bit about Jake and his decision. I mean, maybe you guys, this has been beaten to death. Like,
Stephen, this is your time. Like,
no, this is our time.
This is our, yeah, you're right. This is our time. We're
like
not worried about
like all the people listening.
We're not worried about what happened in any other podcast.
Well, I'm very, you know. So Jake and his decision to tell Austin about his idol. Terrible, right? We all agree that's just terrible.
So I talked to Jake about this, and I think that for Jake, what he like in his mind, that him just playing an idol for himself wasn't a big enough move to get him where he needed to go. He wanted to like sort of like know where the votes were going and then be able to save another person with the idol.
And
And
that's
say,
literally why you don't tell someone about the idol. That right there is a perfect reason why you don't tell people about the idol. Because like first you find out where the votes are going, then you save the person with the idol. But if everyone knows you have an idol, they're not going to tell you where the votes are going.
He told Austin, he knew Austin was going to tell D. He knew D was going to tell Julie. And I think he thought that he could sort of like, okay, that then they're not going to be voting for me tonight. They're going to be voting for, they're going to vote for Katurah, and I'll be able to, again, that they have like sort of like this sibling rivalry almost, that they're both the two people that are sort of on the bottom with the bellow, and they're both jockeying for this position of like, hey, like we want to move forward together, but I want to get the credit for this. And so I don't want to make it seem like that I just like made this like self-preservation move.
Yeah.
I made a big move and I saved Katurah, because when I'm
Right.
sitting at the end with Katurah, I also need to be able to say I did better than her.
Right.
And so I want to be able to like have this move like Natalie Anderson in San Juan del Sur of Jacqueline. Did you vote for who I told you to? Okay, I'm playing the idol for Jacqueline tonight.
Yeah.
And then save Katurah at Tribal Council and get D out of the game.
Yeah.
And I think so, according to Jake, that's what Jake, that he knew Austin was going to tell people, and that's what he wanted.
Yeah. Very interesting. I mean, like, I guess that makes sense. Like, because then you think the votes aren't going to be on me, so that can sort of like help guide where the votes will go.
And thinking that the Rebas are not, probably won't be taking, shooting at each other. And so I think he felt like, okay, if I tell Austin I'm playing the idol tonight, then they'll put their votes on Katurah, and I can then, I'll know where the votes are going, and I'll play the idol on Katurah.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, though,
it did not work that way.
Right. Right. Yeah. It did feel like there was, I mean, we certainly can, there are a lot of the comparisons to the Charlie Brown of the season have been, but even with, winning the advantage and then missing the puzzle piece and then, missing the key. And then Jeff at Tribal Council, I thought this was very unusual. Jeff at Tribal Council said so. And then Jake, you squandered your advantage.
Right. Like, I kind of feel like that Jeff was sort of like snitched on the whole thing. Like that seemed like a little out of character. I'm trying to remember if
I don't know if he doesn't typically say like this guy really screwed up the challenge.
Yeah, but he's like, just so everybody knows today. This is what happened. And that wasn't even the where he broke the challenge.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't even like, just so you know, Jake broke my challenge today.
Yeah.
I just want to let everybody on the jury know about that. He Jeff came in and was like telling the jury about what happened.
Yeah. Very unusual. I can't think of any.
Was he afraid this wouldn't come up organically?
just so everybody knows, Jake screwed it up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Very funny.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yes.
I don't know. I didn't really. I felt like I was going somewhere with that, and then I kind of just.
You also you talked about how you were surprised with the outcome of the vote. Specifically Emily's.
Well,
vote.
no. I was momentarily while I was watching thinking there was a chance. So much of what we've talked about over this season was the relationship that, obviously Austin and Drew had with Emily, but specifically, and specifically like both individuals, like Drew and Emily had a great relationship, and Austin and Emily had a fantastic relationship. I mean, we talked about how Austin was the one who really brought Emily into that group, even more than Drew did, because Austin was the one who kind of showed her his bling. Austin was the one who sort of, calmed all the chaos down right before the Brando vote. And I thought there was a chance that Emily would, vote for Austin because that was one of her number one allies.
Yeah. And that was Kendra.
Right. And yet, as someone pointed out to me, it was Austin's, Austin was also the one who directly cost Emily her game by telling Dee about this vote that was not supposed to make its way back to Dee.
Yeah. And did Emily get all of that information, at Ponderosa at this point in time? We saw where when Katurah voted, when she voted for Emily, she holds up her thing. If this doesn't work tonight, it's because Austin opened his big mouth. It seems like that the jury all knows this story.
Yeah, it does.
Julie is there. And so I wonder if this has been like festering a little bit of like Emily is saying like, oh, I didn't win the game because Austin had to run his big mouth back to D about the whole plan, and that's why I got voted out of the game.
Yeah, and you know, even her like remark about, you know, you better not spend $1 even on that like boy.
On that boy.
Yeah. I think there was a little bit of salt towards Austin. You're probably right that you know, she was a little bit salty to the guy who cost her his game. And you know, you do just like sit at Ponderosa and
also,
you're like,
Emily, don't forget, Stephen, she is a financial analyst. She's
right.
seen too
She's thinking,
many
like,
people
yeah.
waste their money taking boys out for
Right.
drinks and coffee.
Right. Put this in a safe fund. Yeah, exactly. Low cost. Yeah.
Mhm.
Total market or S&P 500 index fund. You know, don't give any to Austin.
Yes, don't go out. This money is for you, not for dates.
Yeah.
Although
I've
she's
got
giving out
one
to her
stock,
family.
which you won't believe. If you click this link, D, I will tell you.
Yeah. Okay. What else from the Survivor finale? Did you like the reunion show?
Let's talk about the final tribal a little bit, because
Okay.
first of all, I have a complaint, Rob. The
Yes.
first two questions in this final, were the first one was like, tell me about how you like seized this experience as much as you possibly could. And
Yeah.
then, and that was from Kendra. And then Katurah's question was, tell me about how you faced your fears. Do you know what Brendan Sinnott's question was in Survivor Token Sheens? It was basically like, Stephen, you've made so much of this about your growth. There are no games where who grows the most matters. And what the heck? This is a different. Why didn't I get to play?
You
in this
should have
era?
played in the new era.
I know. Why didn't I get to play in the new era? Like the growth argument. Everyone makes the growth argument. Actually, like D, I feel like did not make the growth argument that much as much as some have.
Because it's not about her growth. For her, it's about her win. You know, sometimes you win and sometimes you grow, and that is what Survivor is.
But how do you think that the contestants did with these answers?
In terms of answering at the final tribal council, you know, I think that Jake did the best that he could, and I felt like that you know, Austin I don't think was bad at the final tribal council, but I think that D just had like these aces in the hole that she was able to just drop on
Drew vote and the Julie vote. I mean, and then of course the fact that, you know, at that moment he's learning that, you know, she was the one who gave up that information. Like, that's such a, you know, if you leave your ally who's like trying to prove that they are a strategic dominant force, like dumbfounded and slack-jawed, that's a pretty good moment in front of the jury.
That is,
she said that was deliberate.
Yeah, I mean, that is the one thing that I think that has been really good in the new era of final tribal councils, that I feel like that you've had a little bit more of the like, well, actually, you didn't know this, but you know, there's been like these mic drops that happened. We had it with Marianne where she's able to like, okay, actually, nobody knew I had this, but I had an idol this whole time. And you know, and then I did Mike play an idol on her at the final five? I don't recall. I think that might have been the case, and you didn't know this, but I actually had my own. Gabler had that a little bit with Cassidy, where there's a moment where Cassidy was taking credit for the Ryan vote, and it was a little bit like, actually, you didn't know this, but like I actually was working with Jesse and Cody on that, and then. You know, we have it here. I don't remember if there was something with Jam, but I do really like this players sort of just like holding back information for the final tribal council to be able to use it and then kind of embarrass the other people in the final three.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we certainly talked about how it's such a free flowing information sharing game these days that any kind of secret out there is really you know, remarkable. Whereas back in the day, people were, I think, a little more close lipped about things, and so it was like, oh yeah, okay, we all had secrets, that's fine. Good for you. There's another one. But now it seems like there's a real premium. But how do you feel, Rob, about are you still bullish on this new final tribal format, or do you kind of wish they would go back to
are you going from my takes from like Survivor 35 of like when I said I liked it? No, I'm over it. I would like to go back to what it was.
Really?
Yes, very much so. I think that and this one wasn't bad or anything like that, but I do feel like that in a lot of the new era seasons, you know, we get into a lot of like groupthink, and so it's really sort of like you know, you're sort of like giving like a group presentation as opposed to people coming up and, answer this one question to unlock my vote. It's more of like a battle royale to win these 8 points of like each person comes up. It's like, all right, for my point, here's my quiz that I want you to answer. Like, riddle me this. And so I really like that. I feel like it's such a spotlight where for people to ask like these like insanely petty questions of like what's my kid's middle name? And if you don't know this, then you don't get my vote. When's my birthday?
Yeah.
And so, you get people who are like, where's my apology for what happened? And I think just in terms of like television, and again, it's a different show than it was at that point in time. Like Jeff and the production team, I think they take a lot of pride in the fact that like these are just so evolved and they're so like they don't have to get nasty in terms of that. But like, I'm old fashioned.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit of like a petty drama.
I just call you Mr. Nasty.
Please, Stephen. Mr. Nasty is my father.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Nasty. I went to medical school. Yeah.
Yes.
So where does Bello rank for you, Rob, in terms of the F up? Well, I don't want you to need like an actual ranking, but like, so obviously this season
there's
had Lulu,
two
one of the
types of disaster tribe.
Yeah.
Okay. There is the disaster tribe that cannot even get out of its own way. That's Lulu.
Yeah.
That they cannot even get through a challenge.
Yeah.
But there are the tribes that they are like, they, for whatever reason, they have enough that they are able to like really perform well in the challenges, but personality wise that they cannot exist. We had this in Survivor 41 with the Luvu tribe, I believe, with Danny and Deshaun and Erica, and that was a tribe that they didn't go to tribal council, and they got to the merge and they were just a disaster.
Yeah.
Couldn't coexist.
Two made it, one of them won the game.
One of them won the game, but they did not function as like Danny and Deshaun were like a voting block, and then Erica and Heather were like a voting block, but overall that they were just not a cohesive unit.
Yeah. But this was more like this.
Tandang also.
But Bello, like I feel like Bello fell apart like much more than that. I mean, Tandang is a better example because like they truly,
and they also had two people in the final three.
Committed to, but didn't win. Committed to destroying each other that they really could not save themselves. Like none of them can save themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, you have these tribes where it's I think that this is an argument for throwing these challenges in the pre-merge.
Yeah. So let's talk about Austin and his game, because we talked certainly at the middle of the season. We were saying that Austin was playing one of the best games, and then in the back half, it felt like all of these things he'd built up, he'd built up relationships, he had superpowers. They all kind of like fell apart. Did he just peak too soon, or
he peaked too soon?
Did love destroy him?
So I think that in terms of like the strengths of Austin's game, and so like just like going through this, like probably like if you were going to chart Austin's game, I think that Austin's game really peaks at the Kelly vote, where that Kelly's out of the game. We're down to the final 9. He has these 2 idols at that point in the game. And then he goes right into it was the episode we talked about at Thanksgiving, where they go into the 3, 3, and 3. Yeah. And that him, and from what I talked about with Julie, it's Austin and Drew. They let Julie take the idol. Yeah. And then they never get it back.
Yeah.
And so basically that it was an Austin idol that then got like handed off to another member of the Reba Alliance. And from Julie's perspective, and she had some interesting things to say about this, they all found it together. This is a Reba idol. This wasn't Austin's idol.
Yeah.
This was the group effort.
Yeah.
And, and she talked about how when back in the second episode, remember when it's Dee and Julie and they found the hammer and people were like, oh, these idiots, why would they give the hammer to Austin so he could go get the idol? If I was playing, I would have like broken the hammer or I would have taken the hammer and broken the rock myself and taken the idol, and they'd always still be looking for it. And then when she doesn't give the idol back, people are like, oh, how could she do this? How could she not give Austin his idol back? When, this was a group effort that he found the clue initially, but they all found it together.
Yeah.
And it was something that like bonded them as a group. And so, yes, she felt like that this was a tribe idol. This wasn't Austin's idol.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It was in his possession. He was the holder of these two advantages at that point in time. And really, then at that vote, then Kendra ends up going out of the game. And Kendra, as we've talked about, it was really Kendra and Emily were the swap people from. It would have been, I think, in his better interest to have really pushed harder for the vote to be Jake, which was what Drew wanted to do. I think Austin was, it helped him because he's a bigger guy. And I think that had he been more of an aggressive player in terms of his temperament, I think it would have been made his threat be higher. He was somebody who tried to I think play smaller and not rock the boat.
Yeah.
And so I think in certain instances he needed to push more. Can I push back on that? A wise woman once said, and he should have done that a little bit more. He lets Kendra go out of the game, which was a number for him. And then ultimately, at the final, okay, Bruce goes home. Okay, whatever. But then, he lets Emily go out. And yes, that Julie was a big number for him, but that's really the beginning of the end of his game. Is Emily going out instead of Julie?
Yeah, and especially, with his idol and the way it all went down. Yeah, I mean, it really was. If Austin does not tell, you can't counterfactual that far back, really, but it does seem like if Austin does not tell Dee about the Julie blindside in that moment, that he's in a very different situation and potentially could win the game.
And just to his credit, I talked to him about this. He said that for him, Julie versus Emily, I think that at the time he did not feel like it was the end of the world to lose Emily. He knew he was going to tell Dee. There was a chance she was going to tell Julie if that was ultimately the case, and that Julie. But it could have been him that got idled out of the game had it not been for Dee really pushing to not have Julie write down Austin's name. So. He was a little bit more indifferent than he should have been to Emily going home, but that's really the beginning of the end in terms of him winning the game. I feel like.
Rob, did you ask Jake who he would have voted for if it was?
Yes.
And what's the answer?
He would have voted for Dee. He had said that he thought that Dee was one of the best players ever. He could see that while he was out on the beach, and that he would have very much voted for Dee. I don't think it would have been particularly close for him.
Yeah. Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Stephen, I have a lot of questions also for you from about all sorts of different things. Okay. Dallin wants to ask you specifically, will Stephen work with Jake in the 0 vote finalist season?
No, I don't trust Jake. Are you kidding? Everything I learned is you don't trust Jake with his kooky plans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
You seem very down on that answer. You don't like that.
You gotta come on, work with Jake. He needs a break.
Yeah, I feel
Did you
bad.
Play with anybody who was like a Jake?
Did I play? Who? Kind of like a kooky plans, down on their luck. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm trying to think of anyone who kind of not unnecessarily, but just sort of. He played hard. He also was playing hard. He's well strong to Maxim, but played
down
too
on his
hard.
luck.
Yeah, kooky, little kooky. I don't know. Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Bobby Hall wants to know, in terms of the scramble to get the final 5 immunity advantage, was this the best one? Was this the most balanced advantage in the immunity challenge? Okay. What do you think?
Maybe I'm the kooky one down on his luck. Who?
Yeah, maybe you are.
That's who's comes up with unnecessarily complicated plan. Maybe we would work together. Maybe we'd be great at that. I change my my previous answer.
Okay.
Right.
There you go.
Whoa. Sorry. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Steven, what do you think about the counting challenge?
The counting challenge. Oh, the JT crabs.
Yeah. How about this, Steven? Did you know this?
Crabs, that's JT.
I honestly was just upset that I wasn't, shown sitting next to him. I was hoping, a JT, clip, maybe I'll be in there. I'm in the side. No.
Mhm.
A lot of,
JT is crabs.
yeah. That's a good thing to remember. If you even season 18 crabs, I don't know what you're trying to imply, but I don't see it.
I don't really know what was the mnemonic device for what associated with JT was there any crabs in Token Cheens?
It was just the season number, Rob. You don't need to read into it more than that. He was 18. It was season 18. And there were 18 crabs. It was season 18. JT crabs. Well, nothing more than that.
Was JT crabby?
No, wonderful guy.
He got a little crabby when Michaela was making all the coffee.
Yeah. But it was just
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. All right. I mean, I kind of got Gabler. He's kind of nutty. He's coconuts.
Also, the season number.
Yeah.
43.
Yeah. And then Denise was strong like bamboo, but I didn't really get.
There's literally the crabs. There's no further metaphorical leap needed.
Yeah, but I think that another reason why this was so good, this one, was that Jake was such a great narrator.
Yeah,
so I think that you got to hear his thought process and how he was thinking about it. So I think that probably they're all the same, basically run around, go look for a thing.
Yeah.
But I think that it depends on the cast.
Is Jake I didn't even have him in my previous all-star cast. Is Jake a shoe-in for an all-star season now?
I mean, so is it New Era All-Stars like we were trying to do?
Yeah, New Era
All-Stars. Yeah, I think he's got I think it really comes down to when we're trying to figure this out. And you've brought this up with Drew versus Carson. Who else is in his lane?
Yeah. Is he a Nasir type?
I don't think so.
Yeah. No, but
no, I don't think so. I don't think
sort of off to the side doing his own thing, but we love him.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a casting type that we're looking for. I kind of feel
no, but the free agents, the ones.
But who's in his demo? I think we need to compare him to.
What about Cody? Owen is the obvious one. Yeah,
but I think you could potentially have Owen and Jake both back in a season.
Yeah.
So
I think Owen, though, I feel if you're gonna say who is like Jake, it would have to be Owen.
Mm-hmm. Yes, certainly that comparison has been made a lot, but I don't know if you could if having Jake would necessarily preclude you from having Owen also in the same All-Star season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he's probably on the short list.
Yeah, he's got to be in the mix somehow.
Yeah, I would think so. I think that he's definitely. Who else from this season?
Well, obviously D, if they do returning players.
Sure.
That's I mean, I think
Emily.
you can't knock Emily for sure. I mean, Emily's a lock, I think. I mean, Caleb has got to be in the mix there, I mean, I really like Sabaya. I know she's a total wild card.
I love Sabaya too.
I think Sabaya could be a really strong wild card returning player.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think Drew is in the mix. And what about Austin? Is Austin in the mix? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Long list for sure, but I don't know if he's on the short list.
Yeah, I think that we just have to go when they who's our strong young guys, I wonder, I think Jonathan is, but I don't know if they're the same. They're the same archetype.
Cody's there.
But Cody's not really I think he was good in the challenges, but he wasn't really one of our
they don't have a lot of strong young guys these days.
They really don't, and that's really been something that they used to have 5 in a season.
Yeah, I mean Caleb is like that, and I think you got Caleb, you got Jonathan, and that's all they need. I mean, they don't they'll just do Brandon will be the third on the third tribe.
Yeah, so I think that Austin does have that going for him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I see a question about from Mex, who got Sia money. That I think at this point in time, unless the chat could tell me otherwise, I think that that's still TBD.
Wow, is it going to happen?
The Sia prize, I think, is still out there.
Yeah, you got to assume that Katurah is going to get Sia money.
I think that we were talking about this last night. That the Sia top people.
Jake has got to be
Jake, Katurah, and Emily. I think
Yeah.
that those. I think that
Yeah.
that's on Sia's short list. But Sia sometimes will just come out of nowhere with something.
Yeah, just like let's give it to Kelly or Sifu. Sifu would be fun. Yeah.
You never know
Yeah.
what's on Sia's mind. But I think as of this time right now, I don't think that last year, of course, like we had where I was interviewing Carolyn and she came on the next morning. Sometimes it takes her like a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, she's got a
So
lot going on.
she's got a lot going on. It's
Yeah.
the holidays. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let's look at some okay. How about this is a question from John who
Yeah.
asks us, how do you play from the bottom in the modern game? Jake's underdog run held no sway with the jury, even though it was full of bellows. They
Yeah.
liked him, but he was also their punching bag and wouldn't vote for him. Everyone else competed to be Reba's chosen one, and it worked for none of them.
Yeah. I think the move is be like Gabler. And honestly, it did seem like Katurah was sort of like this, like the person who kind of is in everybody's ear a little bit. If they get to the finals, they can say, I was a part of every group. Everyone likes them. Nobody's mad at them.
Yeah.
And I really think that's it. Like you can't be that person who is just trying to be the third, you kind of, I think you have to like just
Yes.
totally go free agent.
Honestly, like I think you're right. Gabler did it perfect, and I think that Katurah, people like will like be taken aback. I think that Katurah did a perfect Gabler game.
Yeah, she had a very Gabler-esque game.
And what I mean by that, okay, all right, hold on. Let me just let me cook here for a second. That as opposed to I am going to flop constantly trying to make the big move and take down the main alliance. Okay, that the jury's because I like that none of their plans worked. They were a disaster. If you get in with the group in power and are like their like confidant, their friend, and that they are using you for numbers, they all feel good about you. You find your way into the end, especially against like the Jakes and the people who did flop, then it doesn't take that much for them to consider voting for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think an Austin Jake Katurah finale, like, is that a blowout? No, I don't think so. I think that the Katurah's got a real footing.
Austin Jake Katurah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Bloom and I went through that on the feedback show, and we thought Katurah wins that scenario.
Yeah. I think that's a very viable option. I mean, that is very similar to Gabler's, Gabler's exact matchup, right? Where he's got, the Jake Owen comparison. And then you've got, I mean, I do think Austin maybe drove more of the early game strategy than Cassidy did, but like Cassidy was very present at the end.
I think they, they won challenges and so
in the dominant group, I do think I don't think it's like I think that could have been a win for Katurah. So I should have voted out D.
Yeah, so I think that if you're at the bottom, maybe don't focus so much on because like the thing is like it used to be okay, you're just gonna like they'll vote you out at the end and you're not gonna get to the end. But the big alliance eventually, especially in this new era, eventually they're gonna start to look at each other. And then that sets the stage for you to be able to sneak into the end of the game.
And it does seem like people are not really voting off the unattached people, right? They're going after the people who are in the big group, sensibly. And so to be in that sort of like, I'm just kind of, I mean, Gabler was so very much that. The other thing that Gabler did, and that I think really helped, was he had that one big sort of like huge swing with Ellie. And so for Gabler, there was always going to be something he could say at the end, hey, I did this one big thing. And I think like, you kind of need something to point to, it can't just be, I was here. Like you have to have like something that you can say.
But I think Katurah, if she got to the end, I think she would have been able to
point
like,
to D,
point to Bruce. Yes, had the D thing worked out for sure. But I think that she would have been able to really point more to her story in terms of like I was at the bottom, and so what I did was I watched, I observed, like I have to pay attention to detail every day, and that's really I think that she could have spun a story because maybe she does not have like a flashy resume, but she also does not have like disastrous fails. And I think that the disastrous fails may disqualify you more than not having like the big wins would be, I don't think it's necessarily the end of the world.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Okay. All right. How about from Let's see. A question about Jake. Do you think that Jake could have swayed any jurors to vote for him if he made an argument that Dee and Austin played games that were dependent on one another, whereas he had no true ally to work with?
I don't think anybody was voting for Jake. I just
Probably
don't think. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think
he
so.
could have got one from like Caleb or Bruce.
I don't think so. I mean, definitely not. Why? I mean, Caleb was, going to vote for the person he thought played the best game, and Bruce too.
Yeah.
I mean, like those guys, they're not voting on friendship. They're voting on
Yeah. Okay.
fun.
How about one from Mackenzie who says, for Stephen, I'm a big fan of Katurah.
Yeah.
I found the internet community has been unfairly hard on Katurah's game all season. You, Stephen, were one of the few who expressed that she was playing a much better game than she was given credit for.
Nice.
Can you give your thoughts on Katurah's game now that the season has ended? I felt that the finale edit proved she could have won if she was in the final three, but it seems like the show wasn't able to tell that story through a lot of the season for many of the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a lot of the stuff that you kind of were saying, Rob, of how she could win, because she did lie low and become friends with everyone and shuttle information. It's the Gabler strategy, to be the person relaying information. And everyone kept pointing out she was always on the right side of the votes. She was the one who was bringing, info. As frustrating as it was, she blew up the Bruce Idol thing. And that certainly cost Bello its opportunity. That helps her preserve herself. And she can then, if she does make it to the end, she can say, hey, I was the one who was always with every group. I knew everything that was going on, and I do think she had that a bit. I mean, so it is, again, like for her to have taken that risk and put it in, like, blown up her own personal game in order to preserve an alliance that didn't value her that much. I mean, maybe it would have been the right move, but it's not obviously the right move.
Yeah. Also, I wonder what she would have done with the lawyer thing. I wonder if it would have been a moment at the final tribal council where she ultimately says, hey, just so you know, because I don't know, was she hiding the fact that she was a lawyer because that either A, lawyers are considered to be very smart. She didn't want to have that. Is it B, that lawyers have a bad reputation, but from some people, or C, that lawyers make a lot of money and that she felt like that people wouldn't vote for her?
It's probably all the above a little bit, right?
See, I kind of feel like that. I wonder if it was more A, especially considering the type of work that she does.
Right.
I wonder if she would have said, like, had that reveal at the final tribal council of like, hey, Julie, you told me I should be a lawyer, and Jake, you told me I should be a lawyer. Well, I have some news. I fight for people every single day as a lawyer, and that's like I brought that into like into the game and like made that part of her story of why she should win.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, that's what she said at the final tribal, right? She just wanted to be herself and didn't want any like preconceptions to play into that. It was very funny, as many people have noted, and as happened, just the fact that both Jake and Julie like whispered, "You need to go to law school."
Yeah. So I wonder if she was like, but that was like part of it where she was like stringing them along about like, oh, I don't know, maybe I should do it, and then to have that be like the reveal at final tribal council, I wonder if that could have been her thing that really like wowed the jury.
Yeah,
it's a good question for Katurah. Okay, and then this is one that I think is fun. Addison wants to know: is Dee making that joke at Bruce's expense an underrated bad move? It was an unforced dig at a juror, and she ended up not getting his vote in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, I doubt. I mean, is Dee getting his vote anyway? But you do see sometimes these like testy exchanges. Yeah. There's no real reason.
So I asked her about it because I had thought that maybe was Bruce like really stumping for Austin, and that maybe that was going to be, that was like maybe like an exchange that we didn't see the whole thing. And I asked Dee about this, like, hey, was there more to that? She's like, no.
It was just like a snarky remark in the moment, right?
But it might have locked up Katurah's vote.
Yeah.
You got to think about it.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Exactly.
But yeah, it's just Bruce was very quiet. I do wonder if like Bruce might have been like, could he have been too wacky at the final tribal council? I can't imagine he was just had nothing to say.
You think that he was there and there was like just that what he said was not as relevant to the
that I asked Jesse and he said that these things go on like seemingly hours.
Yeah. That's interesting that there was a lot of Bruce, but we just didn't see it.
I wonder, even at the reunion show, I also feel like that a couple times, like in the background, something he was like making faces.
Oh, really? Huh? I thought I didn't notice.
Yeah. So I don't know if they really left a lot of Bruce on the cutting room floor, especially considering that we really only talked to him by way of Emily, where it was like you would think like coming into the season, like, oh my God, Bruce, you came back from season 44 and like
Right.
you had this amazing story that you came back and you played.
Right.
But it seems like that they just did not want to spend a lot of time with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe it wasn't as relevant to how it played out.
Okay. All right. Anything else about the Survivor 45 finale?
No, it was so fun. I mean, it was so satisfying to see Dee win. I mean, she played such a great game, and truly, she was always the person. Whenever she wanted someone gone, that person was gone. She preserved her allies. You know, she also was willing to push on them, right? When she wanted something done, she was willing to push to get her way, but she also gave a lot and helped her allies, get to the end. And, she went into the final 5 with her 2 best allies. And that's really remarkable.
Yeah. Let me ask
she played a great game.
Okay, moving forward, I always like to think about like, okay, well, how does this season change the game moving forward? What do you think is the impact of the Reba 4? Do you feel like that it won't be in Survivor 46, but do you think that in Survivor 47, we feel like that maybe like there's going to be a little more emphasis on the alliance and the like really trying to keep these alliances tight going into the merge?
That would be a nice return, wouldn't it? Just to see people really like trying to, build up those relationships and keep those groups strong. And I do think, 44 showed the same thing with the Three Stooges. It's just like if you have a tight group, you can do really well. And I do think like we see over and over, it's the people who are the closest. And often those bonds are real organic bonds. I mean, those are real friendships that we saw. I mean, Dee saying Julie is like her mother. Obviously Austin and Drew are super close. And certainly with the 3 and 44, they obviously were extremely close too. And I do think, some of it is luck to find the people you bond with. But yes, I think an alliance is an extremely powerful tool in a game of strategy.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see how this ultimately changes things when we get to Survivor 47. But in the meantime, Survivor 46 around the corner. Anything catch your eye from the Survivor 46 reveal?
Yeah, it was very strange that they were tossing buffs to people. That was a very funny moment though, where the guy opens the buff. Yeah. What about you? Oh, a lot of like footage from their real lives.
I thought that was a fun way to do it.
Yeah,
sort of like take us through the process of, first off, like I kind of feel like that, people like really like examine everything. It's like, okay, this person has more facial hair here. And so I kind of like that we're not like getting too much from the preview. And I like that we're sort of seeing them like a little bit in there. Like this was an inspired idea, I thought.
Yeah, I agree, because with the preview, it's always like someone jumping in the water and someone, raising their arms. And I do think this was a very fun new way to do it, because there's not that much you can get from the same kind of like few beats that they always have. And it was very enjoyable.
Okay. All right, Stephen.
Well, I have one more thing.
Yes.
So I saw on Twitter this artist whose name was Abby Bonneau, posted with this bracelet that she made, and I loved it so much that I had to get one for myself. I'm not sure if you can see.
Let me see. Let me go full screen on Steven.
I don't know.
Okay, what is it?
I'm gonna have enough. I'm just having trouble getting.
Is that the Austin?
It's my. I can't even like get it turned. Now I'm.
Yeah.
Like, it's the bracelet. Yeah. So Abby Bonneau, who does other ABBYBONNEAU, who's, I don't think this is her specialty. I don't think it's just Austin resourcefulness bracelets, but I loved it so much. I thought it was so funny. It's like an in-joke that literally nobody will get. A completely incomprehensible string of letters. But at its heart, it's about resourcefulness. And I really like that. So I got one. I want to give her a shout out.
Okay. Well, I'm so happy that you saw something that you liked so much and you was like, okay, I need that.
That's what shopping is, Rob.
Yeah.
You see something you like, you exchange money for those goods.
It was such a like specific thing.
Yeah, I'm not into, as you can imagine, I'm not into like decorative items or jewelry, but like I've
never seen you in the many years that we've been doing this. Like, I need a Carson pillow.
No, but like it's always like so on the nose. It's like the Carson pillow, or it's like the the Survivor logo, and it's like that's not me. I just like that. Well, this like obscure thing that nobody. Oh shoot, Rob! I've been on the wrong mic this whole time. Have you been able to hear me?
Yeah, you've been fine.
Okay, well, I just turned to the right mic. How do I sound now?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems negligible.
Okay, good. But yeah, I just thought it was like such a fun, like weird, like and just like little,
Glad you changed microphones like 3 minutes left into the podcast.
well, I wanted
The
to
first
go
hour
out,
and 9
go
minutes,
out-
whatever.
go
But
out
the
with
3
a
minutes,
bang.
that was the killer audio.
Listen, it's gonna be a great 3 minutes for those who are still listening. Hello.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, this was a nice turnout here for the post finale know-it-alls. So appreciate that. Then, so you're feeling good about the daytime know-it-alls?
I mean, I love it. Coffee, sleep well the night before. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Other than like the angst, of course.
yeah, I've enjoyed it too. I feel like that the feedback has been very positive. I feel like so. We'll keep it going for Survivor 46.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, Rob, this is so fun. It's such a
Right?
pleasure.
You'll come back for the daytime know-it-alls?
Yeah, exactly. It's the daytime show, It's
Okay.
like yeah.
All right. Anything fun coming up for you the next couple of weeks?
Well, Christmas, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Santa's coming to my house, I've heard. So I'm excited to see what he brings me.
Okay.
Hopefully my kids get something too, but that's on them.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with their lists. But yeah, very excited for that. And then they encase me in my block of carbonite until the next season.
Okay. I saw you were asking about you were going to check out reindeer games last week. Did you end up following through on that? No.
I was curious. Someone was like, "This is the most amazing challenge design I've ever seen."
There was some good. Yeah, there was some good.
And I'm
some good
naturally
challenges.
curious. Yeah. I did start watching the first season of Traders because I'm so
Oh, okay.
excited
Yeah,
about the
you
next
texted me
season.
the other day, and I was on a podcast, and I felt bad.
Oh wow, you got to humiliate. Yeah, you didn't text me back. Yeah, now
Sorry.
everybody knows about it. Yeah, I didn't text you back sometime, probably too.
No, you had an interesting thought though.
So here's my question
for Traders,
and I am curious, like maybe if like what happens if all three traders are immediately out?
Like
if they're
they
immediately
add more.
identified-
They add more.
Oh, they do. Okay, I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
didn't know there was a mechanic. Okay.
Yeah, but you had also thought that the traders should be sabotaging each other.
Well, I mean, the ultimate goal is to be the last trader. Well, I didn't know that they added more. So my thought was like, you get rid of the other two traders and then you're the last trader. And then you basically like have production in a vice because they're like, we've got no show here if this person gets eliminated. So we've got to like
No, I think they
find
add
ways
more.
to protect them.
Yeah.
That's sort of impossible then for the civilians, right? Like if they add more, like we can never get rid
It's
of the
not
final
like
trader.
a game of Mafia where it's like the town can win before the end.
So can that it's basically impossible to win if they keep adding in.
I think they can. I
actually, I
have
need to
not
find out
seen
the
enough of the.
mechanics.
There's so many
Yeah.
like traders UK and Canada and New Zealand and Australia. Like so, there's even though we're on Traders 2, there's been like probably like 11 different Traders seasons.
Yeah, I should stop speculating about the mechanics until I've seen more than one episode.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Stephen, so fun to get together here today. And so we will continue with all of our podcasting here in the next couple of weeks, but it'll be a little bit till we get back to a Survivor episode. February 28th will be the premiere of Survivor 46. But we'll have plenty of preseason coverage as soon as that stuff drops. In the meantime, Stephen, where can people keep up with you?
I'm on Twitter at StephenFishbach.com.
Still a great Twitter follow.
Oh, thank you, Rob. You like mean my following of you is great.
No,
okay.
that you have lots of fun stuff.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice.
Yeah.
And I'll be there. I sometimes post there every so often, especially
You said yesterday. I'm tired of responsibilities.
yeah. I feel like that's a universal sentiment, right? Responsibilities, they're the worst. Nobody wants responsibilities. I thought that was going to go. I thought there was a chance. It could go viral. And who wants responsibilities? Nobody does. That's something anyone can relate to.
So true. All right. Yeah. Stephen, great job. Happy holidays to you. We will be back later on tonight with reindeer games after that episode. Plus, check out my exit interviews with the final 5. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.